Okay. Well, welcome everyone. My name's Jenny Nash. I'm CEO of Author Accelerator, which is a book coach training and certification company. And I'm here with Jill Smith, who is director of the Denver Publishing Institute. And I'm so excited to be talking with you today, Jill. Thanks for joining me.
Yes. Hi, Jenny. Thanks for having
Hi.
me.
Hi. You sit in such an interesting place for the conversation that I'm interested in having about shifting or pivoting into publishing mid-career. And I wonder if you could just start by telling us about the Denver Publishing Institute and your program and what its mission is.
Sure. Yeah. So the Denver Publishing Institute is a 4-week graduate level program. We've been around since 1976, if you can believe it. And we're held every summer on the campus of the University of Denver, which is a beautiful campus in a beautiful city at a beautiful time of the year. And so our mission is to teach about the book publishing industry for people who want to work in the world of books. And so they want to work within publishing, become editors, marketers, work in sales, publicity. It runs the gamut. So we view our role as showing them all the possibilities that exist within book publishing. A lot of them come to us wanting to be editors, which is great. But then they realize that there are a lot of other jobs, and they'd never really thought about publicity, and that really struck a chord with them. So it's really a program of discovery for people who want to enter book publishing.
I mean, just listening to you describe it, that it's a big industry with a lot of moving parts and a lot of jobs and a lot of things to do, right?
It is, and there's just so much to it. Everyone knows trade books. We know and love trade books, but we also cover scholarly presses. We cover college textbook publishing. There's some people who come to us and they realize they just love academia and they still want to be in it. And then they realize that they can work in college publishing and kind of have a foot in two worlds. So it's a big wide world out there.
And what kinds of people come to you? Is it can you categorize the types of folks that come?
Well, everyone loves books.
Yeah.
Everyone has a love of books. So beyond that, a lot of students come to us straight out of undergrads. You do have to have a bachelor's degree to come to our program. So, some of them are 22, 23. I would say, the majority of them, they might have been English majors. They know they don't want to teach and they want to work in books. They want to forge a career in books. But, we do have a growing student body of people who are changing careers. So, they could be in their 30s or 40s. They've done one career, but they want to pivot and devote themselves to books.
That's interesting. So I know you've been with the program for 20 years, which is incredible in this day and age to do anything for that, that period of time.
Well, I
Um,
love it.
I know. I mean, I'm interested before I ask the question about the trends that you've seen. I'd love to ask about your own path because you have an MFA. You were an English major, right?
So yes, I was an English major as an undergrad. I was actually a dual major with studio art. And so when I graduated from Skidmore College, I decided to actually pursue art for a little while. And so I got an MFA in visual arts. And then, I was a classic artist with a day job, corporate day job, and found my way to DU and to the Publishing Institute. And, I've stepped away from my career in art because something about coming to the Publishing Institute felt like coming home.
Oh,
I had taught, when going through my MFA, I had taught my way through. And so I was used to being in academia, but I was an English major who loves books and loves the world of ideas. And so working at the Publishing Institute was just an absolute perfect fit for me.
that's a great story. And do you see, so the types of people that are coming into the program mid-career these days, you said they're coming from other industries. Do they typically have a background like an MFA or an advanced degree, or is it all over the map?
It is really all over the map. I do see a fair number, a handful each summer of teachers, who want to leave education. Moving into publishing is just a great segue for them because, you know, moving from teaching into, L-High, elementary to high school publishing is just a perfect fit. Those publishers are looking for people with experience of working with children and know what children need. But other than that, we do have a lot of mid-career students who already have freelance editing businesses, and
Hmm.
then they come to our program to learn about publishing as a whole so that they can better coach their clients, so they can understand the whole ecosystem of publishing. And then, and then people who perhaps come from a different industry, but let's say they have sales or marketing experience in another industry, and then they want to take that talent and apply it to books.
So what do you think? What is it about books? I mean, you and I know because we're in it, but what what do you think for people who have done something else? Why do they circle back around to this? Or why do they land on this? What do you think it is about the world of books?
Um, I think books are happy places. It's, we grew up loving books. And so it's a coming home, working with books. And I think there's a certain romanticism of the industry, which is part true and part not. It's still hard work working in publishing. It's not just sitting around and reading manuscripts all day. There's actually a lot of grunt work that can go into it. It's not all fun and games, but
Right, right.
yeah.
But what's interesting to me is that love never goes away, even when you're doing the grunt work or you're in a job that requires that, or there's a grind aspect to it because it's work. There, that love seems to carry people through.
Yeah.
Do you find that to be true?
Absolutely. And it's such a collaborative environment. I think
Mm,
it's interesting that when people think of editors, they think of someone, working alone in a room with a manuscript, which, is true. But
yeah,
publishing is collaborative. The editors are working with the marketers. They're working with everyone across the publishing company, with a common goal, which is publishing a book and seeing it's through to its success. And
right.
so it's this amazing collective effort of people coming together on behalf of the author, which is so exciting.
That's interesting. I never thought about that before. There is a yeah, collaboration is a perfect word and kind of a generosity of spirit I feel among people when you're working to bring a book to life, no matter what part of the business you're in. It feels that way to on the inside, doesn't it?
It does, and it's full of optimism and a lot of idealism,
Yeah.
to bring a book into the world, to think the
Yeah.
world needs this book,
Yeah.
and so we're going to publish it. It's just exciting.
So it sounds like you're not getting any, well, maybe that's not the right word. It sounds like authors are not coming to you to learn about the publish industry. It's people who want to do something besides write. Is that fair to say?
That is true. Yeah, so we are a program for people who want to work in publishing as opposed to authors. So we don't teach about the craft of writing.
Right.
Um, and occasionally we do have authors attend. They could be looking for a day job. They still want to write, but they would like to at least earn some money in the world of books. As opposed to their writing, they want to have a career, and that can be really difficult to have a toe in both sides of that divide.
Yeah.
But oh, just lost my train of thought.
You were saying would be hard. It's hard. I was talking about writers coming into the
Right,
program
right, yeah.
and
And
that is
so I mean, and then, but they do like to learn about the whole process of book publishing. So
right.
one thing we do have to caution the writers who come to our program is that our speakers are not there to hear their pitches of their own manuscripts.
Right. Right.
So we do have to draw a line there. The speakers are there to talk about publishing, not to accept author pitches.
And how have you seen trends change over the years in terms of the types of people you see coming? Is it pretty steady or has it changed? Like I don't know what I'm asking. Like more teachers or more women or more older people, or are there any trends, or is it kind of always the same?
Um, well, it's been such a peculiar 3 years,
Yeah,
so it's hard to know if we have a trend yet or not. And our program for the past 3 years, we've launched. We held the program remotely for
right.
2020 and 21 because of the pandemic, and then in 2022 we held the program in a dual modality. So we had both in-person students as well as a cohort of simultaneous remote students. And so I don't know yet if this is a trend, if it's related to that modality shift, but we are seeing some older students coming. And so I would say back 10 years ago, um, the median, I was just looking at our student body, the median student age was about 23, 24, about 10 years ago. Now we've crept up to 25, 26 as our median age.
Interesting.
And their remote cohort tends to have a few more older students on a percentage basis than our in-person, which makes logical sense. If you are 40 with an established life, it's a little harder to uproot yourself and travel to Denver and live in a dorm for 4 weeks. And so I think the remote program is very attractive to them. Although we do have, the younger students in the remote cohort as well. I think this past year was our first year of dual modality, and we had about 40% of that remote cohort was people over the age of 30. So
And is
60% were under the age of 30.
that's so interesting. Is it a myth that you have to move to New York if you want to be in publishing?
Oh, absolutely. I just sent out, or I just tallied up our job postings for 2022. And we sent out to our listserv I should have my stats with me, but we sent out over 450 postings of job openings across, I believe it was 35 different states. These postings were from 35 different states in the US, in Canada, District of Columbia, and the UK.
Wow.
So publishing is everywhere, and a good 95 of them, I believe, had either remote or hybrid capability.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
fascinating. I've been wondering, I have a secret inside track because my adult daughter works for BookBub, which is
Mm,
a fully remote book discovery company. And so I know from her life that her job has gone fully remote over the last 3 years. And I was wondering, I mean, the company I run is fully remote, and I was wondering about the rest of publishing, if it was trending that way. But it sounds like maybe so.
So some of the companies are, it's a company by company basis. Some of the New York companies, really want people to be close in.
Yeah.
Even if it's hybrid, they might want the employees to be available for on-site meetings. Um, so so it really depends on the company. But there
Yeah.
are definitely more possibilities now than there were 10 years ago.
It's interesting. Well, that's a nice segue to asking about one of the things I'm particularly interested in, since we're in the business of training book coaches, which are people that are solopreneurs, are running their own businesses. And you and I talked before, and you said you do see a certain rise in people who are interested in being their own boss or having their own business. Is that something new that do you think's come from the pandemic?
I was starting to see it build before the pandemic,
Interesting.
actually.
Yeah.
But I think it's even stronger now. And I think because it's this allure of not having to move to New York, to run,
Right.
to run your own business from wherever you want to be.
Right.
Um, so I think it's continuing and growing that people want to start their own businesses.
Well, I'm going to throw a curveball at you now. Now that I know that you're an English major and you have an MFA, and here you sit running a company, and I can tell that you love your data and all of that. But the question I'm gonna throw at you is, I would love to just chat with you about what characteristics or qualities you think English majors bring to running a business, because I was an English major and was not trained in running a business or being an entrepreneur, and I'm kind of becoming obsessed with the qualities that I see. I don't have the things that one might typically think you're supposed to have, and but I find so many skills that you can leverage, and I would love to hear your thoughts on that. What do you think English majors have that the world of business needs?
Sure. I think from an on an obvious level, they have writing skills. Writing and communication skills are so important across the world of business. And attention to detail and attention to tone and the craft of writing.
Mm.
I mean, tone is so important when it comes to business communication. So I think that English majors can really leverage that skill and the understanding of the nuance of language.
Yeah.
But when it comes to reading and analyzing literary texts, I think they're used to seeing their way around problems, searching for connections. And I think that is really it's hard to describe, but I think it's a really applicable skill to be able to problem solve and analyze problems from all different directions. And I think English majors do have those skills.
One of the things that I notice being an entrepreneur is there's not an answer. There's not one answer. It's not like a math problem where, you know, if I do this, this happens and this is the result. It's trying and failing. It's very iterative.
Mhm.
And and I think English majors and people who have studied literature, it's the same thing. When you take a test in an English class, as I'm thinking high school level, right? Or college, there's not a right answer. You're not, if you're analyzing a character or a plot or a subtext or whatever you're doing, you're not, there's no right way. There's 100 right ways. And
Mhm.
I think that quality of searching for a path but not an answer is a skill that, to be comfortable with that ambiguity, is something that I see a lot. Does that ring true for
A-
you?
Absolutely. It's that skill and love of analysis. Is it's so important.
Yeah, yeah, it's really true. And another thing that I have noticed is, to me, at the end of the day, business is about people. It's about, what do people need? What do they want? How can you serve them? How can you
Mhm.
help them? What can you offer of value to them? And that means understanding how people work and what they think, and how sometimes they say things that aren't what they mean. And all of
Yeah,
those people reading skills are honed, I think, by reading too.
absolutely. Absolutely. It makes me think about our program and how a lot of times students come to us because they think publishing is telling the world what to read. And it
Mm,
can be, but I think rather it's finding out who the readership is and what they want. So
yes.
it's more reader centric. It's not about me, the editor. It's
Right,
about the reader,
right.
you know, which I
Right. Well, and that crazy reality about publishing, no matter where you're working in publishing, every single book is its own product. It's not like, my husband used to work at Toyota, and I used to think about this all the time, that all the money that goes into developing the next Corolla, let's say, basic model of car that a lot of people are going to buy, they're going to do research, and they're going to craft a look and a feel, and they're going to figure out how many cup holders and gas mileage and all these things, and then they're going to make that same Corolla thousands and thousands and thousands of times. And book publishing is this is so not that. Every single book is its own thing,
Mhm.
even in a series, even in if it's a series of textbooks or what have you. It's so everyone is so unique, and therefore you have to figure out, where does it fit? Does it in the marketplace? Does it, yeah, who wants it? Does it belong? Does somebody who wants this book also want this other book? That
Mhm.
kind of analysis or logical thinking of contextualizing the market. And I think readers are really good at that.
Mhm. Yeah. And I think that's what makes the industry so exciting, is that everything is unique. And because people are unique, readers
Right.
are unique, authors are unique. It just makes
Right.
it really an exciting and vital career.
It's so true. It's so true. So I wonder, with the types of changes that we're seeing in the publishing landscape, just it seems like every day something new. I was just reading in the paper this morning about AI software and how it's changing marketers writing, not in the publishing industry, in general. um, a lot of people are leaning on this artificial intelligence software for developing posts or press releases or this, that, and the other thing. And it's just suddenly here, like this futuristic thing. And changes like that come, and new business models, new software for helping writers either organize or publish their work coming all the time, new pricing models, crowdsourcing, just everything. There's so much change in this industry. Well, I think in every industry, but since we're in this one, it's so hard to stay on top of it all. And do you the folks that you're bringing to the institute each summer and each year, do you keep up with those sorts of changes and bring those sorts of things to the students to help them kind of wrap their hands around, it's not the old days anymore where it was Max Perkins sitting there. There's such a
Right.
broad array of things happening. Um, is that what you're bringing to your students in some part?
Well, yeah, and we only have 4 weeks, so we
Right.
can't teach it all.
Right.
But the the great thing about having our sessions, our workshops, and our lectures taught by people in the field, is that they can talk to these issues real time. How is AI being used in their company? How are
Right.
they using it, or are they not? And if not, why? And so I think that's the beauty of having working professionals actually teach the students.
I love that. I love that. And in terms of just back to the idea of coming to this work mid-career, what are the particular challenges that you see a mid-career pivot into a publishing universe? What kinds of particular unique challenges do they have, do you think?
Well, I think they need to overcome some stereotypes of, them, and say an older applicant not being as moldable or pliable, for a job.
Right.
So, and I think the way they can overcome that is by, showing optimism and enthusiasm and excitement. And so if they bring those qualities, I think they can overcome that. I've seen them overcome it with
Right.
getting jobs in publishing, and a lot of times they can bring their prior experiences and leverage them. So I mentioned before, a teacher that then goes into education publishing. I saw that this past summer. In fact, that happened. Or someone with sales and marketing experience, then getting a job as a sales marketing assistant at a publishing house. And then it seems that they get promoted quite quickly,
Mm,
because they already have the office experience, the business experience. They just have that wealth of knowledge.
right.
So then they can get promoted pretty quickly. So that's really neat to see. But yeah, it's that foot in the door, showing the excitement, being able to really talk to why now, why a career pivot now, and why books, why publishing.
I love that. So we're talking now in January. What is the timeline for people to come to the Denver Publishing Institute each year, and when does the application window open and close, and what sorts of things are you looking for?
Sure. So our application system is open in January. We typically open it in the beginning of December, just in case anyone's an early bird. But it is open, and we've already received some applications so far. But the first deadline is typically the end of February, and then we have a second priority deadline for the end of March. The important thing about that February deadline is that we do give priority to those applications for scholarships.
Mm.
So that is important. And we find that most people who really want to come do apply early.
Mhm.
And then, so I would say February and March are the time periods that we're really reviewing applications. And in April, we are extending offers, maybe taking a few more applications. I believe our final deadline when we close the system is really the end of April. Because at some point we just have to, close it off so that we can start preparing.
And what's the best website or place for people to visit to learn more?
Sure. So we're at du.edu. It's actually liberalarts.du.edu/publishing. So, or you could just do a search on Denver Publishing Institute and you'll find us.
Great. Well, thank you so much for this chat and just thinking through these ideas. I appreciate it.
You bet. Thank